How's it going, everybody? This is Land Life. I'm Chris Brackett. I have special guest Kevin Thier. I like to refer to him as Foodplot Kevin. He's the guy that kind of got me into food plots, really got me addicted to them. I was trying to plant green stuff and have deer come do deer stuff in the green stuff. And then I went to his house and realized if I bought the right place or had the right property, I could make all the deer come to my backyard. And so that's why we're probably here doing all this stuff. Big thanks to Foodplot Kevin for getting me addicted to food plots and being able to help people across the country. If you don't know what we're doing, this is Land Life Podcast, Chris Brackett's Land Life Podcast. I'm a broker in Illinois for land. I sell land. I do consults all over the country. I do consults online where I can help you with, I don't know, if I had $1 for every time I helped age a deer online, I could make a living at it. But so we decided to help people online doing whitetaillandlife.com. If you haven't gone to whitetaillandlife.com, that's where I go online with you and I share your computer screen and we talk about a deer that you're after. And if I can help you set up, and a lot of people just want a sounding board. So we created that, Whitetail Land Life. And now we have Land Life, the podcast, which is really just a platform where we get to talk and do what we already do every day on the phone, whether I'm talking to Foodplot Kevin or whether I'm talking to Kirk or one of the other guys, the white gold guys or whatever it is. So here we are. I hope you're in a tree today. We did not go this morning. We were really running short kind of on north wind stands, and I kind of didn't want to blow up an area. And at the end of the day, one of my best friends, Kirk here, he was going to our best northwest stand, and I was really just rooting for him. So I was up early watching the cameras. I really watched after midnight last night on pretty much 35 or 40 cameras on 2 different farms, kind of blow up and start dinging. And I started watching more bucks show up. We had a couple really big ones show up. We hunted in the rain last night on some clover, surrounded by Foodplot Kevin's oaks and some apple trees, and those haven't produced. But we knew that we had to get on green, that we could look into a big oak flat, and really that would tell us, one, what the deer were doing. Number 2, we were after this really big deer named 8x, and we were hoping he slipped up because the night before he slipped up, but the wind was wrong to go in there. And today we are here getting ready to go out, and I don't know what stand. I think I might go hang a stand and slip in and hunt this the timber, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So last night, Foodplot Kevin and myself went to the clover plot, Miscanthus. This one's a Shadow Hunter 6x6 right into the Miscanthus. We could see into the big hardwood timber. What do we believe that one oak was that had to be just now dropping?
A late dropping white oak.
So it's a big white oak. So if it's a white oak, it could be a burr or a swamp. Are there many kinds of different whites?
It could be probably a standard white oak, I would say.
Okay, so if you guys don't know how to tell the difference between a white oak and a red oak, and those are pretty much the 2 parameters, right?
Yeah.
As a white oak and a red oak is what you're going to be finding. If you don't know how to tell what they are, is if you look at that leaf, whether the one's in the tree or you find one that's dropped, if you have a sharp point on the leaf where they have points and that come out, the red man, right, referred to as Indian, whether it be slang or whatever, right, the red man used to use arrows as points. So the pointy leaves will show you where the red oaks are. And the white man, this dates back to, the white men on the plains or whatever, they would shoot bullets, right? And if you think of it like cowboys and Indians, the cowboys, the white oak has a big white bullet-shaped edge of a leaf. And the red man has a pointy arrowhead. And that's the way you've always kind of learned it. And it's the easiest way to remember and the easiest way to learn. So that'll help you find out. Well, this one had to be a big white oak. And if you guys don't know, when it comes to trees, Foodplot Kevin is the guy I look up to. And you're not like a biologist, or you just been studying them your whole life, or how did you get into like growing trees? So if you see a white tube on my farm, it either came from Ray at Lock and Load Sporting Goods and Genesis Wildlife Group out in New York, or Foodplot Kevin probably grew it in his kitchen. And you've really grown some incredible trees. And like, I mean, you're telling me about all these different species, and now we have probably 25 or 35 different kinds of trees between Ray and you that we've planted on my farm. How did you get into it?
So I tried to get some trees from the state a long time ago, and it took like a 2-year process for free trees. I was like, you know what?
And they're always smaller when you
They're
get them.
always bare root.
But you want to plant roots. You don't want to plant tree. You want to plant roots. I've learned that from Ray.
Right. And I didn't get the trees I wanted. They gave me like 600 red buds, and I was like, I'm not planting those.
Yeah.
So I decided to start just collecting acorns, nuts, whatever. I started off with chestnuts, and I've got a friend that's got a chestnut stand. It's probably 35, 40 years old now, and produced heavy. And I went and grabbed some nuts from him, and I figured out they're very easy to stratify to get to sprout.
And the stratification, guys, is a breakdown of the outer layer of whatever plant or seed that's freezing and thawing through the winter. The seeds will drop in the fall. The fruits will drop in the fall. The fruit gets eaten. The seed, whatever's left there, whether it's switchgrass or native grasses or seeds or acorn seeds, that just takes a breakdown of that hard shell that's protecting it from really the wildlife trying to make it through. And we've got some cool research that Kevin talks about, and I've got a special segment on that. But stratification is the freezing and thawing, breaking down the outer layer so that nature can do its thing, and it can grow either that switchgrass seed or that acorn. In this case, it's an acorn, right?
Yes.
Or chestnut,
acorn. Yeah.
So it breaks down that shell, and you got them to germinate in your.
The first year I raised like 600, and pretty much all of them went to Iowa, a friend in Iowa. And then I planted like 150 on my place.
Yeah.
And on my place, I've got old timber soil. It's kind of wet. They just didn't thrive.
Yeah.
And then I had a dicamba issue. They got sprayed by mistake, killed them. And I was like, I'm going to find something else that's better.
Yeah.
Better than for my farm than chestnut.
Because you could find, and right now, one of your favorite hobbies is to go out and find acorns everywhere, parks, rest areas, side of the road. Somebody may have one in their front yard, like a legendary tree. I have a lot of, what kind did you, white oak, but the one I like so much, that
the English
hybrid.
English hybrid. And the way I found it, I was going into work at like 4 a.m. and right beside the interstate, there was this tree, and there'd be 14, 15 deer every morning. Picking acorns up off the road.
There you are. Real life, real stuff. That's why we're bringing it to you right now. This is the last couple of days, Halloween of October, and we're giving you an up-to-date. We're going to go into acorns and what these deer were doing once we give you a little Foodplot Kevin background. So he's literally driving around, finding out where the preferred, millions of trees on the side of the road, everywhere, neighborhoods, people's front yards, and he would find where all the deer are congregating, and then look, right? Like what you teach me is like, look right now, what happened last night. This is a Halloween. Let's call it the Halloween drop for acorns. We got a different wind last night. We had rain for the first time. It's a lot colder temperature. All these little things are they're messing with how that acorn is attached up there in the tree.
Loosening the nut.
They're loosening the nut from the tree, and they're dropping, and we watched deer hear them and run to them last night. Now, this is something in the Midwest, guys, that we don't see like you guys in the fall down there, down south, where you fill your pockets full of acorns and you drop them and watch those deer running. We know you do that in Georgia and Alabama and Kentucky and down there. We just don't have that up here. We're waiting for the combines to pick the corn, and then we're going to hunt the combined cornfields that have the grain spillage and just all the corn laying all over. But we don't really have the acorn stuff unless you're looking at it. And that's why we're teaching you right now. So last night we went out, we've got these Halloween time dropping oaks that aren't everywhere. And what time really do oaks start dropping? This is literally when we see deer disappear in September. They're getting fat, their coats are changing, and you go, aliens took them. And you got the October lull in October. Is what's happening really? is it's getting hot and they're going to different trees, different groves of this particular acorn tree.
So you can have the same species, but same species oak tree, and it drops different times. This
Really?
tree, every tree is different because they're open pollinated.
Okay.
So open pollination just means you don't know what oak pollinated that tree.
Even if a red pollinated white,
no, it will be the same.
It'll be a
species.
white pollinating a white.
But you can cross over. You can be an English and a
burr
fastigate. You can be a English and a burr hybrid.
Okay.
You can do a columnar swamp white oak.
Which you told me the columnar is the one that goes kind of straight up.
Upright.
And the other ones, and you could cross it with a really bushy one that gets half as tall and wider. And then that's where you get kind of some of these fun variations, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of variations. The upright ones will be huge because you could put them just like you did your English in the edge of your switch.
Because they're going to get up there and out of there.
Right.
Yeah.
And with the tube, they're going to get the light from above.
So what we're talking about, guys, is really cool stuff with trees, acorns, growing trees from acorns that you can do at home. I really believe that this is a blessing that Foodplot Kevin's going to be able to, his real name's Kevin Thayer, but Foodplot Kevin is going to be able to take us on a ride on the tree growing deal. Like we've really talked about going into business, growing trees and doing it because we love it, because this is a passion project. What I'm doing is a passion project. This is stuff that he's great at and people are fascinated with. And so I really think that we need to find a way to kind of teach this and do a class. I know Higgins has talked to you about doing stuff with him on his master classes and his podcast or whatever. And I mean, you're the tree man. All of us look up to you and are fascinated by what you're pulling off. You're growing some of these trees 4 foot tall, like that one we have in the other room, within what was that, 6 months?
So that was a 4-month swamp oak tree, but I expect it to be 4 to 6 foot by the time we plant in spring.
Yeah, by the time we plant in spring.
Yeah. So when you get a white oak and they start sprouting, you need to get it in soil, and you need heat and just a little light. A lot of people think you need a ton of light. You don't need a ton of light.
Just need the heat.
You need the heat from the bottom, and they grow tremendously.
I believe people have planted trees all over, but boy, if you have some type of tube, we've talked about even making our own tubes. If you have a tube to protect that, it's going to shoot for that light out of the top.
Yep, absolutely. The light, the whole light at the end of the tunnel, that's where it's going.
Yeah. It's out the top and it'll get there fast. And then from there, it seems like it just kind of feeds it, man. It keeps it protected, keeps that moisture on there. Well, enough about trees, y'all. Unless you had something else to say, but I want them to see your segment. Like I'm going to post that as an episode 5. This is going to be an episode 5 Foodplot Kevin tree special, to where we're going to show that at the end of the podcast on YouTube, and they can listen to you. And I think we'll just export that as like a bonus on episode 5 on itself. I think find on your Facebook page and stuff. But going back to our story from last night, you guys, we went in to go kill this big deer that finally came up out of the bottoms, back down where the switchgrass is, along the creek, up out of the top. And he was on camera and he's chasing this doe. And here's how the day went down. We got in there early. We got in the blind. We had our wind. We could feel a little nip in the air, but it was probably probably 57, 60 degrees. While we were in there from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, that temperature dropped probably close to 20 degrees difference, from 60s into 40s for sure. Right.
Yeah.
Big winds. Rain spitting on us. You could see it coming, the big front, man. Some of the most beautiful pictures. The miscanthus is turning different colors. The switchgrass is turning different colors. The green clover rush is just exploding out of the ground. Just beautiful green. This is right before it all freezes. All of a sudden, during one of the rain showers, we have a fawn come busting out of the brush, and we're thinking, well, is there something chasing? Is what's going on? So we're heightened and we're looking, and after you've seen a million deer like me and Foodplot Kevin have up close, it looks like a button buck while it's just running. Like you just kind of see the boxy features on the face, even on these fawns. So it goes running, goes through the gap, gets its picture taken, goes out into the bean field, out into the hard crops. And then I don't know, a little while later, I look on my phone and I see another picture taken over there to the left, out toward the soybeans and the little gap that kind of got to come through this pinch, and the camera's really hidden off to the side. And it gets a picture taken, and I'm like, oh, there's another deer with this deer. They're both mingling. They're hitting the scrape. So I look out the window, and at 10 yards, walking on the edge of the miscanthus is this little spiky, like a little three-pointer. And he's walking as far downwind on the clover as you can, and he is directly underneath us, walking the edge of the miscanthus. So we know our wind's good. We can open this front window. Number two, we are warm and dry. We know we've got some more rain coming, and we've just had 2 deer go by us in shooting range. Everything on this field is shooting range, so we're just being quiet. We're playing the night out. We're there early. And then really it was a matter of, we started kind of hearing things in the woods and sounded like stuff was dropping. And we just didn't know it was acorns, because we thought really the acorn push that we talked about a little earlier, which happens kind of in September and kind of happens in October. My instincts, me, who I am, I really believed that the oaks are done. I mean, I really thought the acorn drops were done, you guys. I mean, I really did. I'm like, oh, they're going to be coming to greens. They're going to be going to these cornfields. They're done with acorns, until I saw what I saw last night. This is 100 acres, not messed with. Got a million cameras all over. I know what's going on in this farm. I know where everybody is. I am able to see what pressure's on there. I've only been on there a couple different times, just hunting the edges, looking into the property with the perfect wind. So it has had no disturbance. So here comes this doe through the timber, out the path, through the dogo what are the crab apples?
Apple.
Yeah, the crab apples that'll be unbelievable in 2 years. Comes out, eats clover, but instead of going out to the beans, she turns about left and goes straight down to the end of the field, where I have this huge white oak on this point. And she sits down there. Well, even before that, the fawn had come back.
The fawn went through there.
And the button buck walks by us, and he's already sitting down there. And this deer is walking in circles, eating, head up, eating. Hear him popping down there. It's rain, and here comes the storm. Doe gets up. She walks down there. Now, here's where the cool, interesting part of deer doing deer stuff is. This big fat doe is eating clover, is listening, and she walks down there and eats acorns. And she starts really actually kind of bumping the button buck away from her. And we're like, well, is it her button buck or whatever? And clearly it was her fawn. They hung out together. But every time he got too close, even when they ate acorns and then went for some salad and went out there and got some clover, she beat his butt. Yep. She is literally trying to protect him, going, listen, dude, you don't know what's coming. It's sweet November. These bucks are going to gore you to death and kill you. Truly, nature is cruel, going to kill you. Get out of here. And she would throw her feet up. And it wasn't about competition for food. It was, you need to get away from me, because I'm sure it was that doe in that little food plot that's probably there every night that was getting chased by the 5.5-year-old that I want to kill. And she's pushing him off, knowing what's coming in the rut. And these little dudes do get killed. I mean, they get gored. They can't be around their mom when, it's breeding season. So this is all happening. And this is the craziest part. This is the part that we've been giggling about all day long, and then really made us pay attention to what cameras went off this morning and last night. They weren't the field edge cameras that were going off. They weren't the scrape cameras that were going off. They were the cameras on these big oak ridges. Why? Well, because we watched this doe eat beautiful alfalfa clover mix and stare 100 yards every time the wind blew, and these acorns would hit the ground, and she'd pick her head up and look, and I'm like, there's a buck coming. And it didn't dawn on me until we started talking. I'm like, what is she looking at? There's no buck coming. I can see through the timber. And every time that wind would come, and those things would hit the ground. She would walk 50 yards and she just couldn't take it. It would be my wife if she had her mom's homemade fried chicken, some homemade coleslaw, and it was sitting out in the kitchen. My wife would come watch a movie with me, but she'd keep looking in that kitchen. She loves her food, and you can ask her. This isn't me getting on her butt, but she loves her food. She, weighs about 100 pounds soaking wet, no matter how much she eats. And me, I look at it and gain 20 and my beard goes white. So, my wife's sitting in the kitchen. She keep looking out there thinking, man, there's some pecan pie and some coleslaw, and she'd go get her a piece. Well, that's exactly what was happening to this doe. She was looking downfield, and every time these acorns would hit, she couldn't take it. And she went back how many times?
3 times.
3 full times that she was eating in clover with her fawn, and she'd turn and walk all the way back, go eat, and she would pick around literally in that one spot.
One tree.
That one tree, man.
One tree.
And the drip line, or the drip lines, guys, is out where where the water hits all the leaves and then runs down. And that's where the big roots are. But underneath there, man, that's where all those acorns are running down and falling. And we had, wind and rain and cold, and they're making those nuts drop. And here the deer are. So this is something that really triggered our brains to go, okay, what happened all day yesterday? Well, when that wind fired up and that wind came out, it's been out of the south for a week or so. It started coming out of the north, and it was a hard north wind. And you were saying you believe that when that wind changes, it changes the way it blows through the leaves, and it'll knock different.
So you'll have different sides of the tree drop.
Yeah.
You'll get different angles of wind. We had the rain that made the nut heavy. You get a different angle.
That makes
of wind
so much
on
sense.
Yeah.
It's the simplest things, right? And you just have to be out there like noticing it, and then be able to make adjustments.
You collect acorns enough at 4 a.m, you start realizing where they're going to hit.
Okay, so if you see a guy out there wearing like a pizza shirt, and I got that's the loins.
Rut Daniels.
Yeah, Rut Daniels. He's a good dude. Shout out Rut Daniels. Didn't go 20.
Didn't go 20.
Didn't go 20. So if you see a guy out there collecting acorns, just mind your own business, or go help him pick up the acorns in your nearest parking lot. But that's what we saw. So instantly, that made sense with the intel we were getting off of our cameras. I've got some cameras set on a giant ridge that runs this entire middle of this big property, and all the deer were hitting scrapes in the timber. All the big deer, I should say. I had a 9-10-year-old. His name's Cowboy. Cowboy shows up out of nowhere. He's there twice. Another big giant 8-pointer, 155, 5-6-year-old deer within 10 minutes. Another big matures on these, probably eating acorns and hitting these scrapes on this ridge. A bunch of fawns, a bunch of does, and just a lot of deer out of all my cameras on all my farms in CRP, in just set aside grass, on food plots, on cut corn, on standing beans, on everything that I have across 2 farms. The only camera that's firing is this one in the timber on this ridge. And then throughout the day, I kept getting big mature whitetails. I think I've had 4 or 5 of them in the last 20 hours on this one hillside. It tells me 2 things. One, they're in the timber. They're fine. The does or whoever or whatever's going on are circulating around this new acorn drop. And it might not be all over the country, but right here in central Illinois, I'll promise you that camera is going to stay fire all day long today. We're thinking about dropping 2 or 3 sticks and getting in there, throwing up a lone wolf or whatever, and trying to get in there and this evening. But it's interesting to find out this data and really go, this is what's happening. So move accordingly in the next couple of days and see if our theory is right and what we're finding to be just data that we're seeing in the field. So, I'm not saying that they're not going to come to clover. I'm not going to say that they're not going to be out in the bean fields, out in the whatever. But I think right now they're preferring, if they're going to eat at all, to browse and being around those acorns, and these does are getting harassed already. I had a big buck show up on the kill plot, and then he came last night, and then he came back this morning, and he had an entire tine broke off. This is a big deer. It's a 5-year-old deer. And so they are doing some heavy fighting. I think some of the does are kind of, I think some of the does are in. They got to be 1, 2, probably 3% of them. And wherever they're at, there's a free-for-all brawl going down. But once they get worked, I think once these bucks kind of get worked up enough, they're gonna go hit their scrapes, and they're gonna come through these areas along the field, across the field. They're gonna start moving exponentially more, like the next probably 20 or 30. And I think it's just going to kind of snowball over the next 3 to 4 days. And then they're going to find their girlfriend. They're going to lock down a little bit. And that's going to always be that first kind of week of November. So right now, guys, again, your warning is if it's raining, if it's windy, if the time is now to kind of go be the trail camera, get in tight to these areas that you know consistently in this time of year are right for these bigger deer. And you're like, okay, I remember my camera's blowing up in around this oak flat. This is the time to get in there in the morning. Remember, hunt the timber in the morning and hunt the fields and the edges and whatever in the evening. You're still going to have deer cruising. And when I say cruising, they're not cruising looking for a deer. Man, they're looking for a fight. They're looking for a tree to mess up. They're looking for a couple scrapes to hit on their way to their other area that they love to go. They just love to hang out and go places. Like, they just love to go places. You have your favorite stand, you have your favorite food, you have your favorite store that you go to, you have your favorite bar, you have your favorite whatever, right? Like, they're just going to their favorite places, and whatever trouble they get in along the way, you better be sitting there. So this is the time that if you ever wanted a warning, you've got 4 or 5 days of unbelievable temperatures. Play the wind and invade now. Go long sits, watching where you're going to kill. Like, you have to go be the trail camera. Here's why. Because you can't guarantee what that weather's going to be 2 weeks from now when the rut's going full force. The rut's for rookies. I'm going to be real honest. Somebody that's killed all the big boys and been everywhere and seen everything, sitting there and hoping and flipping a coin and sitting there. Listen, man, it's fun. I'm not saying it's not, but I would rather make a bunch of money because I used my brain and was successful in a real estate development deal and understanding the whole thing and doing work and digging a ditch and digging a pond and making this property incredible. I would rather win big on that than pulling a slot machine or a lottery and winning big once in a while. This other one, I know that I can do over and over and repeat it and learn than just winning every once in a while. And that's what the rut is. The rut is like, just start picking trees where deer could come through, and it's a rut's for rookies, but it's fun. Listen, it's fun. I'm not putting it down. I will still hunt every day with you. I would just rather have a little bit of strategy into it, pre-thought, rather than just sitting aimlessly and wondering, and I'm not seeing any deer. Hey, Joe, are you seeing some deer? Hey, Jimmy, are you seeing some deer? Lucky. I wish I was over there. The rut's for rookies, man, but enjoy it. Some of us love being a little kid our entire lives. I'm a rookie. I love being a rookie. I love learning new stuff. I love seeing what's going on. But remember, it's a crapshoot. Some days are fire. Some days you come up craps, man. And so realize it's not an insult. And, I don't care if you're insulted by it. It's just the way it is. I've seen deer in Iowa, they run through plate glass windows in Walmart and run around, and somebody's got to tackle them into the dog food aisle. Like, you've seen all those memes and stuff. That there's not so much strategy in there. And there's you want to talk a little bit about that. These deer they just get more feverish and more feverish and more feverish, and they get worked up. And then a big buck will come in there and he'll take him off that doe, or that's his first time, really having, let's say he's a 4-year-old. It's his first time really dominating over these other bucks and dominating over this doe, and sometimes killing them and, doe rape. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to is you got doe rape going on. You got these big boys that are pinning these does down. This is the first time they've been this big and that they're fighting all these males. They get so worked up that they get feverish and they got to go. That is a little time away from now, but this is a great time to get their aggression and use it against them. This is a great time for a decoy when you can snort wheeze with a big giant buck decoy. Use a buck decoy, face that sucker quartering at you, make that buck come in and spin around to hit him from the side. Make sure you got the wind blowing from your decoy to you. Don't go out there and put a bunch of scent out. You're just going to mess everything up. This is the time. The time is now. You got to go. You got to get in the good stuff. You got to be focused and go have fun. Sorry, the rut's for rookies, but it's about ready time. It's about time to go out there and be a rookie, y'all, because it is a fun time. Am I wrong?
Fun time.
It's a fun time, man.
Great time in the timber.
I love to be driving home across the golf course, and across the golf course, you see a giant for no reason wrecking a tree next to hole 11. I mean, because that deer doesn't come out in daylight. He's a ghost. And the only time you're going to see him, maybe early season, maybe in velvet. And all of a sudden, the only time that he's going to walk around is when he gets all fired up. And you can be about anywhere. You just got to be the trail camera. And you got to decide, do you want a fancy deer? I'm into killing old deer. Well, that's not necessarily true. I really think if you guys want to listen to more of this, you go to episode 4 and I start talking about how if 2-year-old deer were 160s, we would all hunt 2-year-old deer. We wouldn't care how old they are. So this is what I got to tell you about your marriage during the rut and your mental state. If you will shoot a 4-year-old that's 160 inches, but you are a big, old, mature deer hunter and you like to have credit with that, you need to do some soul searching right now before we get it full blown into this rut and deer start walking by you and what you're going to shoot and whatever. Listen, this is the greatest rule of thumb that I have ever set for myself, which was I didn't shoot a deer unless I was going to mount it. Anymore, it costs $500 to $575, right?
Oh, it's $800.
5 to 800
for a good guy.
Oh, I got the connections. I got the hookup.
You get a discount.
I get the hookup. Well, I mean, I did every time I go there, I take 2 or 3 with me. I got to get that guy mounted. I still got to get this guy mounted. Like, I guess I'm getting a discount because I'll bring a bunch of them. They're caped well. But you're over 500. So you're going to be thinking 500 to 800 to even $1,000. You get up and do some of these good mounts. Be thinking about $800 to $600, whatever it is. Be thinking about that money before you pull the trigger. I don't give a crap if they're 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Cowboy's a 9.5-year-old whitetail, and if we can outsmart him, he's going to die. But I'm telling you, Dave's 4.5 years old, and if he walks by Kirk today, he will absolutely rip him. I mean, if he walks by me, I'm going to have to double think, but there's something to me about that older deer. Like I really hunt 5-year-olds and I got a lot of season left. But Dave would be really tempting. And here's the deal about a big 4-year-old deer. A big 4-year-old deer, they just don't get a chance to live past there because they're still on their feet a lot. They're probably the easiest mature whitetail and the prettiest big mounter whitetail ever. So don't ruin your life over waiting for 5-year-old deer. And listen, if you're my neighbor, please don't shoot the 4-year-olds. I'm not shooting them. But you understand. I think a lot of that comes down to if you have a property and if you allow yourself some real good parameters and say, no matter what happens on my farm, we're only killing 2 male deer, not 2 deer that identify as males, 2 male deer. Whether they're 5-year-olds or 2-year-olds, that's a real good way to say I own 100 acres and 2 male deer. That's button bucks included. Those are the only ones we're taking off that farm. And I think if everybody did that, we wouldn't have to worry about, well, 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds. It wouldn't matter. I think you have to limit it to deer. The way I lease my properties a lot of times when I lease is buy the animal between $3,000 and $5,000 per buck, and then determine from there what kind of does numbers we want to kill. And I think if people start putting a value on those deer to themselves, we're going to get a lot further with a lot of I don't know, more understanding for what we're trying to accomplish with goals. Listen, they're not a renewable resource. Me and Kevin are some of the best on the planet at keeping deer alive and fed. Okay. And we can only do them with 65 acres. I got 100 of mine, and then I got a big lease, and I got a couple other properties, and we're working with the neighbors on these smaller properties. And then we get a bad neighbor. If Kevin's got a bad neighbor, if I've got a bad neighbor, and they're going to have everybody and their brother out hunting, and it's fully their right, man. But if everybody's on the same page, there is a lot calmer way to smile a lot more than to have this feverish hunting kind of stuff go on. And I don't know. So that's something to think about. Would you shoot a 190-inch 2-year-old, or would you have to wait? Or would you have to wait for that was the deer hotline. No, just joking. It's deer camp, man. You don't know who's going to call. You figure out for yourself before you go out there. And if you're hunting a landowner's property, communication is the key with hunting somebody else's property, so they don't drive by you. Start communicating with your landowners, guys. Start communicating with them. Find out, set your goals for what kind of buck you want to kill. And I'm going to tell you this real frank. Screw your friends. Just forget them. It doesn't matter what you pull the trigger on. Don't be shooting deer or waiting for deer because they're going to make you. If they're not happy for the size deer that you're going to shoot, you need new friends, period. You need new friends in your life. You need people that are going to build you up. You need people that are going to be there for you, that are going to rejoice with you. And when that deer hits the ground, man, he would have been something next year. Listen, I've killed deer that are way past their prime and still had, man, imagine if you'd have killed him at 6. It doesn't matter. If people start saying that, have a talk with them and say, that don't make me feel good. It don't make me feel good. Hey, let's be about it. Let's be about the old days where we used to all go out tracking. This year, if you kill a nice deer, buy some pizzas, buy some beer, hang out in the garage. Let's get this man stuff back like the old days. You remember the old days? I remember being a 6-year-old kid running around with deer legs like nunchucks, dude. And it was the greatest thing in my life. I wanted to keep every deer leg, make gun racks out of the frozen deer legs. They were the greatest thing. Let's bring that back. This is my challenge to you. This is my Land Life challenge to you. Bring that stuff back. Don't take it so serious. Your life's going to suck. Take it from somebody that the pressure can get to you to where you got to kill and perform 8, 9, 10 deer a year. I had to do that to myself. Here's my challenge out there. I know a lot of y'all send me pictures. And when I say a lot, I'm saying I get hundreds a week of people asking me, is this a 3-year-old? How old is this deer? Now, these are my friends. I enjoy talking about this stuff. If you really want to know about deer, about your property, go to whitetaillandlife.com, book an hour on the internet. I will call you on the phone. We will chat over this computer right here at this desk, and you can pay me, and I will talk to you and consult you just like I do. And this is what I do all year long. If you can't figure out a big deer and you need another way to look at a strategy, go to Whitetail Land Life, get a hold of Doug, get a hold of myself. We'll get you booked, and we can talk about whatever you want. We can educate you on your deer, how to go in, what stand to use, how to use a decoy. I will teach you anything you want to know, but you're going to pay me by the hour. This is my job. This is my living. I'm not charging you to watch this Facebook or YouTube or Spotify or whatever it is. I'm not charging you. But if you want my time, you're going to pay for it. You want Kevin's time, he's going to treat you about trees, but you're going to pay for it. And that's America. And we're going to give a great value, and we're going to overserve you if you come to our line. But when all these people, and I'm not complaining, but just all these people send me this information, I cannot tell the difference between a bigger deer I don't have a history with. Now I can tell you if that deer is 4 or older, A lot of times I can tell you if he's 5 or older, if I've got several pictures. But if you're going to send those suckers, just for a shot, I might be sitting there bored in my stand and I answer them, let me know where you're from. A Texas deer and a Georgia deer and an Illinois deer and a Wisconsin deer and a Montana deer, they all look different. And tell me if you got any backstory on them. Don't set me up, for failure. But here's what I can tell you. I have watched people ruin their lives, ruin their marriages over the fact of, I'm going to wait for a 5-year-old deer or older. If you don't own that land and you don't even lease that land, or you don't control that land and what happens on it, and if somebody drives by with a tractor or a side-by-side or any of this stuff, well, you're really just hoping and praying that you get a giant 5-year-old at 30 yards broadside in broad daylight in the season, in the middle of the season, and all your dreams come true. This is what I can tell you. Be happy with what the land allows. And until you have 12 deer that are 4.5-year-old, that are great deer mounted on the wall, you're going to learn more from shooting 12 4.5-year-olds. And then you'll never want to shoot a 4.5-year-old ever again in your life. And the rest of your life's gravy because you've already checked that off your list. I would rather have you shoot 12 deer that you are so excited about, like I did. I killed probably 30 deer. 4-year-olds were my favorite thing in the world. I'd kill 2 in Illinois. I'd kill 1 in Iowa. I'd kill 1 in Texas. I'd kill 1 in Montana. And that was my goal. And once I hit that, I went, I'm done with that. Just like when we're young, we grow up. Us as men, we grow up. We grow apart from these different, guys we run around with that are car guys or, drinking beer in the garage guys. You go, okay, I want somebody to share my life with. I want somebody to have a family with. I want somebody to confide in. All of a sudden we grow up, we get white beards. We're not running around going, booyah. And we just grow up. So it's same with the deer. Apply yourself for 4 or 5 years and try to kill a big 4.5-year-old every year. And if you get a bigger one than that, great. But try to knock one down, man, and enjoy it. Mount it, look at it, enjoy it, and remember the hunt. Why are we really hunting? Why are we hunting these bigger deer? Why are we doing it? It's because we look at that deer right here, this deer right here, go around. I shot him twice in 365 days. Twice. He was a goal for me, but I stressed out about him so much that I probably took years off my life. And I'm telling you right now, on the other side of killing everything that I've ever imagined, I've never had a 200 incher to chase, and I've chased some of the oldest deer that I could find, and I've never had a 200 incher. Most deer won't get 200 inches. So don't, that doesn't have to be your goal. It has to be like, what is it for everyone else? But that deer right there, I had a property that I paid for every year, and I chased the biggest deer in that property to try to outsmart him and kill him. It wouldn't have mattered if he broke half of his rack off. I didn't care about the score. It was that particular animal, and that was my goal. And I killed him the next year. I hit him in the shoulder the first year. He never daylighted again. And then I killed him the first time in on November 8th, which is one of my favorite days. If you guys are busy this week, be looking at November 8th. It's probably the greatest day to me to hunt my style of hunting, where the big boys have bred, they're fired up, they're kind of wore out and dumb, and they're cruising to find the next doe. Those are the type of scenarios that I want to go after, these bigger, older deer. But once you do those, it just becomes different for you. It becomes this new journey right now on LANDLIFE where I'm trying to help teach you about things, how to make land better, how to make your next purchase with land. This is my journey in life right now. And it really, the main part is that I advise you to just relax and really think about what you're doing and try to be out there. And if out there means sitting in the cornfield 200 yards away from the timber with binoculars and your kids behind a hay bale or behind a tree, then that's what it takes to be out there to see if you can see one of these big matures and go in after them. Don't send pictures of deer that go, is this 4 or 5? Let me just give you a little advice. When you're looking at pictures this year, Don Higgins has already talked about it. The other people on country have talked about it. Kevin's talked about it. These deer are 20 inches, 15 inches smaller than what their racks should be. They've got great bases. They got these big, heavy antlers this year, but their tines are short. They just don't have them. 8x should be 180 to 200 inch deer this year. He's dang near the same. He's just a little heavier. So don't go by the rack size. Just start learning your animals. Have fun. And if you're going to shoot a big buck, just make sure you're going to mount it. And if you have that rule, I'll promise you, you and your buddies have that rule when you hunt. If I shoot it, I'm mounting it. You'll think about $800 to $1,000 in a kind of recession year where everything's just a little more expensive. We don't have as much money as we had. You're going to think before you shoot, and you're going to make sure you're really happy before you kill it. And just make yourself a promise that you're mounting it if you kill it. Any advice on that?
Mount it if you kill it.
Mount it if you kill it, man. Let's start promoting that. Mount it if you kill it. I've done that for 15 years, but my dream as a kid was to have 50 whitetails on the wall, and that's what I wanted. And I probably got them right now. If not, I got to get these couple mounted and they'll probably make it. But that was a dream I set as a little kid. I didn't, and so I probably mounted deer that I maybe wouldn't have now. And I know that for a fact that I would have Europeaned them, but I owed it to that deer. There was no difference between that 125 I killed on that ridge in Adams County when I was 16 years old and a difference between Wolverine that I killed at 177 sets before I killed him, and got them both mounted. Yep. Right? So think about it before you shoot them.
Yep. I've got probably a 130, but he's 8.5-year-old deer verified.
Mm-hmm.
Toughest deer I ever hunted.
Yeah. And so that's the challenge. Like, I see a lot of people freak out because these deer, he broke up, I'm going to let him go till next year. You know, they can digitally make antlers now.
Yeah.
If you're really that guy, they can digitally make them. If you got to be Mr. Scoreboard, be Mr. Scoreboard. I think it's all down to the individual. Certain goals. I'm gonna put one out there with the new rifle thing in Illinois, where you can use the straight walls, but you got to have. Now listen, straight wall, but 1 round rifles during firearm season in Illinois are legal. 350 Legend, right? 300 Blackout.
300 Blackout.
Things like that. You know, these guys are buying these, and the ballistics aren't any different than a 20 gauge or 12 gauge slug. They're really not. These are 150, 200 yard guns. I get it. About 30% of the rifle people on the planet, their heads explode. Oh man, I could shoot that 300. Okay, great. That's fantastic. Everybody, let's go down to the average guy. These are 150, 100 in a teeny tiny circle, 150. But the main thing is you don't have the big kick. I like the single shot, concentrating on one shot thing. That's a big deal to me. I think they're going to have more consistency. 200 yards is a long shot on a whitetail with a slug gun. Hopefully it makes it a lot easier with rifles. But what you're going to see is you're going to see 2 and 3 year old whitetails walk out, and a guy's going to say, I never shot me a buck with a rifle before. And he's going to blast that sucker right off his feet. And he's going to be like, come on, Jimmy. You've shot bigger deer than that. And he's going to go, yeah, but I ain't never shot one in Illinois with a rifle before. And I'm like, come on. Pay attention to the herd. Stick to your guns. You don't have to shoot something just because the state of Illinois gives you a tag, okay? You're not going to have any deer left because the DNR and the state of Illinois are leaving it up to you to govern yourself. And as we know it, we are sinful creatures by nature with black hearts that want everything, and we think that everything's a renewable resource. End rant. What do you got to say about that, Kevin?
Even with a gun, my range is 40 yards.
Well, you're talking to somebody that loves to shoot stuff at a ridiculous amount that everybody would puke if I shot. If they knew how far I'll tell somebody that, how far did you shoot that deer? 60. Do you know what the real range was? 80. but I can do it. But I don't care about the heat. They're not getting to shoot my deer anyways. I'm going to kill them half the time. I haven't missed as many deer at 20 yards. I've probably missed more deer at 20 to 30 yards than I have at 60 to 80. But go ahead.
My goal with the
get them close still.
Get them close.
Yeah.
Get them close. That's the whole challenge.
I got a 500-yard Bobby Hart, man. If that deer gives me a chance and I've shot that gun in confident or bow or crossbow or whatever, I'm going to shoot it. I messed up on a turkey last night at 30 yards, broadside.
I think small properties are a little bit different because when you get a small property and you get neighbors you don't get along with, they're not letting you bring a dog on there.
No.
So my whole goal with my property was get them where I could kill them.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal.
Put them on the ground.
Yeah, you better get them where you kill them. I mean, if I'm shooting them on my big lease, and we've got all that CRP, and I know that let's talk about it. I know that if I shoot them, and I don't watch them fall, I'm going to wait 6 hours even to get my arrow. Listen to me while I'm talking to you. You guys need a reminder right now. Okay, this is your uncle. This is Uncle Bubby talking to you. Listen to me. If you shoot at a deer, you get all excited and the sucker doesn't hit him through double lung and you don't watch him fall. I don't want to hear I think I heard him crash. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. That was just a limb falling. That was another deer. Listen, if you didn't see him fall and you can't see blood everywhere from the tree stand, keep your little butt in the tree stand, keep your little butt in the blind, and sneak out of there, and you give him 6 hours. How long should I give him? 6 hours. Yeah, but that'll be midnight. Put on your big boy pants. You're waiting 6 hours. I'm talking one lung, liver, and guts. I'm talking double guts. I'm talking, I don't know if I hit him in the lungs or not. I promise you 6 hours from now, he will still be dead if he's dead now. You're looking at some of these broadheads that maybe are not 2 inches that are cutting them one lung. That deer's going to live 6, 8, 7, 8, 9 hours sometimes, depending on how big he is and where you sliced him and hit him. Do yourself a favor. Do all of us a favor that are out there. People have questioned my ethics before. I'm trying to tell you that if I shoot a deer and I did not see him crash and I don't have video to replay it back, I'm waiting 6 hours before I go in there. If the coyotes eat them, the coyotes eat them. That's just part of the game, but you're doing the responsible thing by waiting 6 hours. Listen to me. There's a lot of you that respect me. I'm telling you the number one piece of advice. You're going to get excited. Listen to me when I'm talking about rain. When it's raining, wait 6 hours. I don't care if it's raining or a snowstorm. That thing is not running 200 yards, period. He is going to run 80 yards and die running if you hit him in double lung. If you hit him in the guts, he is still not running over 200 yards, period. And if you body search 6 hours later, you're going to find him. The odds are just in your favor. Does everybody get that? If you do not see him go down, if you are shooting slugs, they're not vaporizing the inside of the lungs like you think they are. If you don't see him go down, give him 6 hours. They call it going septic, correct?
Septic, yeah. Infection.
If you open him up in his guts and his intestines and you let him stove up and lay there, even on a doe, 6 hours from now, that thing is either not going to be able to get up, but most of the time in 6 hours, dead. I know there's variances. I've shot deer that I've double lunged them in the bottom of the lungs, and I have seen them 9, 10 hours later. Go rounds one of them, right here behind me, right here. Go rounds behind me. He was a deer that the second time I shot him a year later, I hit him, would draw it up perfect, but I was really high in the stand. Went down, cut him. Rage Extreme went in like this and cut both lungs, and he sat on it for 8 hours compressing it. And we didn't find him till 3, 4 the next morning. He was still alive. He couldn't move, but he was still alive. And so, do yourself a favor, 6 hours. Anything else you got to say to that? A lot less stuff would happen.
6 hours, have a dog on speed dial.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the dog thing, I think the longer the better. The coyote, normally by then your body's searching. Coyote, let the coyotes open them up. Let the hawks open them up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a discussion. So if it's me, neck, okay, let's say it glances, something hits, I would say neck or shoulder or heart stuff, and it's not back in the deer. I'm going to go after them right away and make sure that you don't have to drive back out there to the property and bring all your buddies and whatever. So if you're thinking heart, if you're thinking shoulder, arm, up front, in the neck, I'd say get on them right away. Go figure out if there's enough blood to pursue. If you hit them in the shoulder, do your research. There's not a lot of stuff right behind the shoulder that they're going to die. If you hit them in the shoulder, there's going to be quite a bit of blood. It's going to be really dark blood. Really start paying attention, guys. If anything, start writing this stuff down. When these deer are hitting these scrapes and what they're doing about your property, you're going to love this 365 days from now. We're going to know where those oak trees are dropping, when they like to drop, and what those deer are doing. Pay attention to that. Write yourself a little journal and start documenting. Pay attention. Go on these blood trails with your buddies. Find out what this different blood looks like. That's why everybody calls me, is because I have my photographic memory. I'm able to tell them what kind of blood it is and whatever. But the dog, I think the dog guys are going to tell you to wait longer, because they're going to say, hey, just wait. A lot of times we can cut that wind. If we got a 10-mile-an-hour wind, they can cut it like a half-mile away almost, and we found a lot of dead deer that had died from other stuff out there. And if you get out there while you're looking, but if you get another deer hit, like the smarter older dogs and the runners they're gonna know, right? So there's a lot of cool stuff, and don't be afraid. Reach out if you hit one and you need to know what to do. But I'm going to promise you that you can reach out to me about these questions. But if you say, hey, I hit this deer back, I got down and walked to my arrow and I heard him get up, or I walked down and picked up my arrow, and you message me for advice, I don't want to talk to you. You're not listening to my rules. My rules are, if you didn't see him drop, get out of there. Go hang out with your family. Take them to dinner. Just go waste 6 hours. Go with your buddies. 6 hours. Then go check the arrow. If the arrow's covered in blood, if the arrow is not covered in blood, you're good. You're in. If it's not covered in blood, you find it. Use a Luminoc. You're going to be able to find it. If the arrow's still in the animal, if you didn't see him drop, immediately write down the things. This is the stuff to look for. Find out if his tail's up or down when he's running away. Practice in kind of this trauma remembering, right? Like this post-traumatic stress stuff. Like you want to remember this stuff after this big, exciting thing, right? Like when you shoot this deer, start training yourself to look for that tail. If that tail's up, he's either heart shot or you're not. Odds are you're not going to find him, or you're going to see him fall over because he doesn't know what happened. If that tail is tucked and down, he's hurting. Gut, shoulder, something good. That tail's down. And the faster the tail moves, and when he's walking away and you're like, oh, what happened? He's walking away. Well, let's say his tail's moving and he's walking away and you see him fade into a thicket. He's losing blood. These are all things. But listen, I'm not going to help you unless you follow the rules. If you don't see him fall, don't go look at your arrow. Back out and go around. Do whatever you have to get around to where that wind doesn't blow where that deer is. And I'm going to help you find them. Anything I can do that I can, you're going to reach out, I'll try to help. But if you go look for your arrow, I'm out. Pretty good deal, right?
Good deal.
So I got these trail cameras. I had a guy ask a question. I don't remember his name. It was on Instagram, maybe on YouTube. So he asked for. I hit on this the other day. When I'm setting trail cameras, I can only afford so many of these, right? So this is what I found to be. This is a Reveal X Gen 2 Tacticam. Not sponsored by them. They just are what I'm running right now. They have a little QR code in there. I'd literally take out my app. I download it. I buy this for $100 to $125. You can buy these for $100 if you can find them. I bought a bunch from Walmart that had a 2-pack deal. I set that sucker up. I put it at setting. I let it go through. on this camera, this is really cool. One of my farms is really great with AT&T, sucks for Verizon. My home and my area over here on this side of the river, it's a Verizon. We got towers right outside. So, you're going to look for all these. It's going to tell you battery. It's going to tell you if it's hitting Wi-Fi. This says status here. This is going to search. But I literally grab my phone. It asks you what plan you want. I think I'm on $13 a month, $13 a month.
Yeah,
I think that's monthly, and that's unlimited. And then you can buy your HDs and you can buy your video, and that's all like for $5 and $50 and whatever. But that's to download videos and stuff. So you get that. I've got full bars right here. This one's a Verizon for me, where we're at. You take a picture of that QR code. It queues it up. It says, "Do you want to add this camera?" You add this camera. You pick what month you want, and this baby's rocking. I like that their antennas move. I set the setting on a burst, which means it's going to send me one. Here, I'll shut this off. It means it's going to send me one, and it's going to take two other ones that if I get a big giant one, I can go pull this card and switch SD cards. I'm running a 32. Is it 32 gig or 32 megabyte? 32
gig, I believe.
Yeah, 32,
class
whatever.
10 too.
Yeah, class 10. So it tells you, read the directions, read online. I've got a 32 class 10, and that's what I'm running. And it'll reload, and it'll wipe everything out and keep them going. So that's what I'm running right now. We also run Spartans. I know there's some other good ones out there. Kevin does not like the Wi-Fi. He doesn't like them, right?
They had really good pictures.
Tell the truth.
They had really good pictures.
Right.
Great video.
But you tested them side by side with other cameras.
Yeah, the Tacticam did so much better.
And that's why I asked that loaded question, because I wanted you to say this other one did better. And then both of them compared to a standard, like this is a Browning $69 trail camera that does great video. This is like $69. I know the guys over there at Browning actually waiting for a phone call back from them. I know Levi runs these, but this is what we've been running for 15 years, man. 15 years. This is like $69. And I put these all over my farm. Number one, trespassers that are looking for cell cams. Number two, I can set these for incredible video. My other one I like is Bushnell. And I've also ran Moultries. You got to pay in everything else except for the Brownings. You got to pay $100 to $150 anyways. You might as well buy the cell cam and even not run them as a cell cam. But these babies, they've got them down to $69. You can set this thing on burst. You can set it on video, and these are going to pick up one after the other. If you set this for 5 seconds, every 5 seconds, boom, 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 you're going to catch the doe. You're going to catch the whole family of deer. First come the babies, 3 triplets, and then a doe, and then a big buck, and then Bubby Buck is going to be behind it. You're going to catch all of them on this one. You're going to catch one on this because it still has to send and reset. So that's the difference. It's not brain surgery, not rocket science.
One good thing I can say about TechCam is I like all mine the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pull the SIM card out and not pay the $9, run it as a regular card or run it as a regular camera.
Okay.
And then the guys that are trespassing see that antenna. Hey, I'm not stealing it because it's a cell.
Yeah.
So,
but the value, like I used to say $200 was a good camera.
Yeah.
Make sure you're paying over $150 for sure, even on sale. That had to do with the data. Nowadays, this sucker right here, she's probably 10 years old. You run these with these. So when I run, so I have 10 on this one farm, just this one farm that we're running. I have 10. I have them in spots that if the deer are moving, I'm going to get pictures of them, and I know that it's go time. I'm going to get pictures of these big bucks when they're moving. I don't have them down on these particular areas because those particular areas, to me, I don't have enough of those to get in there. But I'll wait for a rainy day and I'll slip in. I have this one right here for a rainy day that is not, it's paid for. It's ready to rock and roll. And I have that hillside that we were talking about. I'm going to slip in there and get another camera in there because I need to know what's on that ridge once I get the stand set up. These babies I'm putting on scrapes. I'm wanting to get really great video and pictures of whatever's hitting that scrape. And there's just a lot of corners of property. These will trigger a lot farther. They'll take a lot more pictures. And then when it's rainy or when you've got a great wind, or when get on your tractor, like you heard me talk about theories of how I get on a tractor and the deer don't care. Go ride your tractor around and pick all these up on the edge of the fields. You'll be amazed that once you pick these up every month or every couple weeks, how many deer you're missing because of the transmission of the cell stuff, but also to log these and think about what you're doing, what you're going to be doing next year on the deer that survived, because you know that he was with this doe in this corner doing this stuff. And you can mark that down your head, and you'll know that next October 28th that you're going to have to be in that area to hunt this big deer. So anything else you can think about, man, because I'm just really excited to get out there today. I think right now, what are we doing right now? We're going to go set up a stand and get in tight, and I'm going to hunt the side of this hillside, or I'm just going to kind of go in a place where I can use a decoy tonight and see if I can get the attention of one of these big dominants if they're going to come out and cross one of these fields, because they're going to be moving. Tonight's the best night, full moon. I don't know what's going to happen after the moon, but remember, weather and time of year are going to trump everything. So you've got cold weather this first week of November. Hit it hard, have fun, set goals for yourself. If you're going to kill a buck, mount it. I think that'll get around a lot of discussion. I'm going to post a bonus tree segment with Foodplot Kevin about trees, and we will do another update in a couple days. So anything left to say, Kevin?
Hunt smart.
Hunt smart. Be safe. I'm Chris Brackett. That's Kevin Thayer. We're out. Have a great day, y'all.